as we're recording this today, yesterday there was the announcement that Chadwick Boseman had passed away from colon cancer, I believe it was, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah.
Total shock there because didn't
Yeah.
even know he was sick, and I guess he'd been battling it for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I was shocked when I saw it because he's such a great actor, but he's also actually a really good guy who was really involved and was out there. So it's tough to see someone like that. It's tough to see
Yeah.
anybody you lose from cancer. I mean, my own personal losses, Len's personal losses as well. I'm sure Mike's lost some friends and family as well. So this cancer is definitely not ever exciting. So I don't want to bring this whole show down by jumping into a cancer discussion. Um, but do want to recognize that he passed away and kind of just talk through some of the big moments that you guys have thought about with him. As far as favorite movies or roles you've seen him in that are most memorable for you. So, Michael, we'll let you kick it off because you got the giggles. So go ahead. Go ahead, Mr.
Well,
Giggles.
Hey,
I
and
think
there you
one
go.
of the I think one of the greatest things that he did and he explained was he actually gave a shout out to Denzel Washington. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he was inspired because of Denzel Washington, who I think it was in a camp he was in, and Denzel Washington helped him get involved with acting, and he recognized and told Denzel Washington that there would never been a Black Panther. There would have never been this because of if it wasn't for you, right? And just to hear that touching moment from him as a as big as he became as the Black Panther, and just reaching out to one of the great celebrities of all time, Denzel Washington, I think that was a great moment just to see from him that he's such a humble guy and such a noble and honorable guy that he was just saying that out there, like, hey, I'm this because of this person, right? Denzel Washington was very moved for that, and he's always still moved from that. So he's definitely going to be missed. I think it's going to be a hard role for anyone to pick up after him because he just portrayed the role of Black Panther, I should say, specifically for this topic that I'm talking about, really, really well. Very likable, very unique character. So it's going to be sad that he's not going to be, reprising that role.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Len?
No, I agree with Mike. I mean, I remember seeing him in 42, a few years before he showed up in Civil War. But, it was like one of those things where you saw like who was going to be Black Panther, and I was like, you knew his face because he has a unique facial feature. So it was like, it was one of those things where you looked at him like, wait, I remember seeing him in different movies and so on. And when I pulled it up and I saw that he was in 42, I was like, oh yeah, I remember he played Robinson really well. And I I love the role that he did with that. I mean, he did it. He showed like that dignity when it needed to be of somebody who would be of royal blood. But then when you also saw a change in his character, like from like in Civil War, he was very much a diplomat and like but you saw his
Yeah.
character really change because his father got murdered and then he saw his killer, and you saw that even though he was still this royal bloodline and all these things for his country, he was still a son who lost his father in a violent way. So you saw but I mean, is the point is that you saw his character like develop well, and like I said, it was very believable, very likable. It's one of those ones where even though like we've seen characters go into the MCU like far into it, like Civil War time period. He blended in well immediately. I mean, he wasn't sticking out. He fit the MCU. He fit the other characters, and it just he fit. I think it's going to be really difficult to replace him. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like the Heath Ledger thing with the Joker.
Yeah.
You have this character, and it's funny. One of my favorite stories with him was he made up the accent for Black Panther. Like it's a
Yeah.
made up, and somebody had made a comment like about like the fact that it was that's not a real African accent. They're like, well, yeah, Wakanda's not a real African nation, dumbass. But I always think of him because he made it up. It was just something that he kind of rolled with, and like I was talking to my son last night, my middle son, who's a huge like Spider-Man fan, but definitely MCU. But it was like now, especially his age, when he hears somebody, when he thinks of an accent from Africa, that's what immediately pops into your head now. It's just because I mean I think because especially for somebody younger. I mean, for us,
Yeah.
we've actually heard people from like Nigeria and other
Hmm.
different countries, but now it's like it's funny because when I've not just heard him, with my kids or whatever, but I even heard outside is that that's what a lot of people like in his age group, the teenage to college and above, that's the accent they think of now. So all of a sudden his accent that he made up is now becoming like what they think of as, and I don't think it's a negative, even though it's not a real one. I mean, Africa's a huge continent with millions of, not millions, but thousands of different languages and dialects and so on. So I think it's cool that, he kind of, one of his legacies is going to be this vision of what a lot of kids see of Africa.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. Obviously, his most iconic role is always going to be T'Challa, the Black Panther. So definitely no doubt there. But what I like is he's done a lot of historical pieces, and not just simple ones. Some pretty big, important points of history on the African American community, specifically things like what was the one he did? The Express. He did. Well, The Express, which was the first Black athlete to win Heisman Trophy, Ernie Davis. Yeah. He also did 42, to your point earlier, right? Jackie Robinson, which, interesting enough, the MLB was recognizing Jackie Robinson Day yesterday, the same day he passes.
Wow.
Unbeknownst to them, it just happened to be the day they said, let's recognize, because they missed it back in April due to the COVID shutdown. They couldn't do it at that time. So
that's crazy.
It's interesting how that kind of tied together. Then he's done things like Get On Up, where he was, of course, James Brown. And obviously Thurgood Marshall, you mentioned. He was also very good in a movie called Draft Day, fictional story about a team called Cleveland Browns that doesn't exist.
I just remember Ernie Davis was not drafted by the Browns, but he was actually part of the Browns before. He had never got a chance to play. So, yeah, Browns are, shut up. Moving on, sorry.
So anyway, like I said, it was a fictional story about a winning team, which we all know is not true.
Fictional.
Out of Cleveland. So it's might as well just been called sci-fi. Anyway, so he played a great character in that, which, Len, have you seen that? It's about the Cleveland Browns.
Where's he going?
So anyway, Michael, have you seen it, by the way?
No, I haven't.
I will never see that movie. You know what?
You should. You should. There's nothing about it that doesn't live up to the hype of what you feel like every preseason.
Just shut up.
Doesn't it build up hope and dream, though, that's false?
Yeah, that's basically it.
I do that every year anyway. No. I'm never going to watch it because the only time I would ever watch it is after the Browns win the Super Bowl. And since they're never going to do it.
Why does it have to be tied to a Super Bowl victory? If you've never seen it, how can you say it has to be tied to a Super Bowl victory? It actually has nothing to do with the season, the regular season or the playoffs.
I know.
It's just what really happens with Browns fans.
Wait. You mean it's not the season? They should have named it like Draft Day or something, you dumb fuck.
And yet you still won't watch it.
No. I don't want anything slightly positive about the Browns unless it's real.
Got it. So, needless to say, great movie there. There's a great movie there. And then, of course, when he came as T'Challa, Captain America, to your point, right? He came in, you found out he was going to be the actor behind it. He did a fantastic job. And I think that's going to be hard, to your point, right? Heath Ledger, they didn't replace him. That universe was done. And so they didn't have to worry about replacing him.
Yeah, but nobody's going to try to reprise that type of Joker role.
That character is hard.
The only thing I can say that's consistent with, or that kind of ties similar to this scenario, because obviously they announced a Black Panther 2 like a year or two ago. They were going to make. Mm-hmm. So that's going to change, obviously, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But it reminds me of the actor who played Dumbledore in the first 2 Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
He ended up passing away after the second one. They had to completely recast his role going forward for the next, 4 movies or 5, I think it was, because they finished with 8 total. And it's a total night and day, and that's my only concern.
You mean 6 movies?
Yeah, you're right, 6. Good call on the math. I didn't know it was a fucking test, dude. So anyway,
just trying to make sure that we stick with accurate content. That's all.
Sorry, my fault.
But okay, going to that one though, I think it'd be interesting. It's interesting to bring that up though. Well, what the hell was that?
That's you two.
It's going right there. Right now, I don't know what to do with my hands right now. All right. So anyway, but yeah. I mean, that's to me like the closest you can say to where a character was so ingrained with that or an actor was so ingrained. that they're going to have to change it? Maybe. They could very well go the other route.
No, but actually, to your point, one of the things was that I read all the books, and my family, as JD knows, is a huge Harry Potter family. Anyway. But one of the things is that kind of happened is that the original actor was this kindly old man, and that's the way that he was portrayed. That's the type of actor he was, and that's how he portrayed him, which I think was good because when Harry was young, that's what he saw him as like a elderly father figure type person. But as the series went along, you found out more about Dumbledore, and who a lot of people who watch the movies don't really know a lot of the backstory to Dumbledore, and where the actor who played Dumbledore afterwards was actually a more accurate representation of who he actually was.
I totally disagree. That's the beauty of books. Total interpretation could be different for each people. I think
everyone has their own.
Yeah, he went completely the wrong way. He did not fit the books best at all.
Yes, he did. You don't think so?
No,
maybe not 100%.
I mean, in all fairness, you bring up a good point, right? We have to look at it from the perspective of as they age. How would the original?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Done? But he came in with the third one, and he overdid it way too much right off the bat.
The third one, I agree.
He said his attitude in the late ones makes more sense, but even then, in the late ones, he actually started to calm down more to where the first couple movies actor played it.
No. I don't disagree with that. I mean, I agree with you. Yes, the third one, I think he tried to put his own stamp on it more than he should have. I guess what I was trying to really get at, and not trying to divert to a Harry Potter thing, going back to Chadwick, is that maybe it might be a thing of trying to like the character of T'Challa actually kind of changed or kind of came into a different type of role in terms of the universe, in terms of because in both of those movies, Wakanda is, very isolated, very, we're just taking care of ourselves. We're not going to do anything to the outside world. Maybe, they look at changing his character being to somebody who has more of an influence on the rest of the world, or
they're more international.
Maybe, something like that. Like I said, I guess, like I said, the transition that they did was they didn't try to copy him. They made him different, and maybe, maybe it was just purely the actor doing it. But one of the interpretations also is that, as Black Panther's character evolves, maybe that's like they're forced to do it, but an evolution of his character, changing into something maybe not as diplomatic, or maybe even more diplomatic, or just maybe a different type of path for him as a character. I don't know.
It's going to be a tough one. Yeah, it's going to be tough to kind of make the change on that one.
Yeah.
And I'll be interested to see, again, it's less of a concern, obviously, at this moment in time. Obviously, he's gone, so it's tough enough as it is. But it does present an interesting dilemma for the MCU once they get to a point of where they want to figure out how they want to go. Because there had been rumblings beforehand that they were eventually going to move the Black Panther mantle to the sister. So at best, maybe one more movie was going to be done, but again, that's all speculation. No official word had ever come out. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, he's definitely going to be missed. He was a great actor. It's sad to see at the age of 43 he passed away from that.
43 is so young, that's just insane.
And that's the sad thing. Cancer can get you at any age, right? Yeah. I mean, you could actually even be the healthiest person and still develop cancer. And there's not much you can do. If your body just for some reason it has some sort of issue, it's going to happen. So obviously it was sad to see that happen. Hopefully, everything good for his family and his family and relatives and all that as well. But yeah, it does, change up things. So that being said, shifting gears a little bit more. Well, go ahead.
Really quick, just I was just looking at the timeline. It was a 4-year battle. He found out about it right when Captain America was being released.
The Civil War, yeah.
I mean, talk about. I mean, yeah.
Wow.
Taking nothing against his other roles because they were huge, because they're meaning behind it. But I mean, in terms of going to the ones that have meaning and then coming into like national, or international prominence and everything. Talk about like a high and a low. I mean, you just finished this movie. You're in the MCU. I mean, you're a main character in the MCU, and then all of a sudden, it's amazing that he kept it under wraps and he kept such for the last 4 years, such a not just a positive, but like actually still being involved and just kind of still living his life and doing positive things with it. It's a testament to who he was as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just realized what the time period was, and it just kind of
He
it kind
went
of
through
hits
it
you.
all.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Thanks for watching our latest video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe below and also share it with friends. And as always, feel free to leave comments.